What about this quote? What about that quote? You can't expect someone who has a short period of time in a contentious media environment to know the context of every single thing that I say, and he can't constantly fucking be in a defensive posture. Today, Congresswoman Hillary Scholten issued a following statement after Twitter Hasan Piker said that American Jews who support Israel are inviting violence. In his stream, Piker directly discussed and targeted Michigan State Senator Jeremy Moss, showing his picture while stating that eventually someone will come around and take action not against Israel, but against American Jews. Hasan Piker's calls for violence against American Jews and directly naming a Michigan elected official and future congressional colleague Jeremy Moss are unacceptable. Full stop. Piker is a hack who thrives on hate, shock, and awe because he lacks substance. It's dangerous for everyone. We should all be calling out this disgusting rhetoric so it loses grip on our politics once and for all. It has no place in Michigan and no place in our country. It was bullshit, but it was a coordinated smear campaign. It was initialized on Jewish Insider. Again, the propaganda mouthpiece for AIPAC. But the big problem is, This wouldn't have been that big of an ordeal, I think, ultimately. I reacted to it. I said, if I was an Israel First Congresswoman with a possible cheating scandal with a Republican in the state, I wouldn't spend so much time vying for the spotlight by actively defaming a prominent anti-Zionist voice to harm the Dem Senate majority chances over a 90-10 issue. So then Abdul's team, rather, came out with a statement. And in the statement, the actual meat of the statement, he did the same thing that he's always done, which is, no one speaks for me. Why are we talking about, she responded again. Oh, Democratic Congresswoman Hillary Scholten amplifies Hasan Piker, calling her an Israel First Congresswoman with possible cheating scandal with a Republican and does not deny the claim. Yeah, she says, not Hasan Piker daydreaming about being me, as if, keep dreaming, pal. There's only one of us hurting the chance of a Democratic majority in November, and it ain't me. So Abdul released a neutral statement. My statements are my own. Hasan's statements are his own. Stop tying us to one another like this. It's ridiculous. It's a distraction, right? So that's what he said. In my opinion, I think it would be best not to say anything. It would be best not to say anything at all, but obviously there's probably a lot of people in Michigan politics that are, saying like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? This is ridiculous. You got to say something. The only issue I have with this is not this statement in and of itself, because it's exactly what he said over and over again, but it was this. Tying it back to Hasan Piker's comments regarding Jeremy Moss. This legitimizes the smear, unfortunately. And it also doesn't make anybody happy, right? There are going to be a lot of people who are already questioning Abdul El-Sayed's sincerity on these issues that will then turn around and say, he's moderating his position on Israel, all this stuff. I don't think he is. Okay. I will say this. I am literally the person that is being dangled. And I'm going to tell you once again, he's not moderating on his perspective on Israel or anything like that. Okay. And the problem is nobody's going to be happy with this. Anti-Zionists will not be happy with this because they will see this as a betrayal. They will see this as Abdul El-Sayed turning around and betraying the pro-Palestinian cause. That's not the case, okay? That's not the case. But also, the overwhelming majority of people who fomented this crisis, this manufactured outrage, they did it for this reason. Because none of them are going to turn around and say, wow, Abdul, it seems that you have distanced yourself from Hasan Piker. It seems you have disavowed his comments. We now believe that you are actually going to, now think that you're not an Islamic style tequila merchant who is doing jihad. It doesn't matter. And here's proof. Dems for Mike Rogers immediately goes, another fake condemnation from Dr. Abdul El-Sayed. Notice he never actually condemns Hasan Piker's calls to violence against Jeremy Moss. Abdul continues to avoid condemning Hasan Piker's calls for violence against Jewish Americans. It's shameful. Abdul is too extreme for Michigan. So it's unfortunate that it's one of those situations where conceding to the oppositional framing in any way, shape, or form is, of course, going to cause them to double down and say, oh, well, why did you even hang out with this guy to begin with? As I've said, as I predicted ahead of time. They're also going to turn around and say, this is bullshit. This is not a good enough condemnation. And then they're going to demand further and further condemnations. Okay? But this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation that he's found himself in. AIPAC is gloating over the Abdul statement. Yep, see, here you go. He knows this as well. He, understandably, does not want to have a conversation about whatever new media concocted manufactured crisis is, manufactured outrage campaign is. He doesn't want to talk about that. He wants to talk about what he's going to do for Michigan, right? That's the goal. And the goal of those who are in opposition to Abdul's victory, his imminent victory in November, are going to do everything in their power to continue the conversation around this. Here's the problem. You don't want to have this conversation over and over again, so you have to say something. But if you say something, they'll use it against you. If you say anything, they're going to say, fuck you. You knew this guy was bad news, and you leaned into it anyway. And if he were to just simply say the truth and be like, this is manufactured outrage, you guys are being ridiculous, which is the case, right? This is a dude who is a committed anti-Zionist who fights against all forms of bigotry, myself included. We do the same thing. Then they're going to be like, well, what about this quote? What about that quote? And you can't expect someone who has a short period of time in a contentious media environment to know the context of every single thing that I say, and he can't constantly fucking be in a defensive posture. I described this to you from the start, which is why I said that his reaction to this was very good. His reaction to this has always been very good, which is, look, I deal with people that I don't fully agree with and don't fully subscribe to on a daily basis. This is politics. Politics is about addition, not subtraction, right? It's smart. It's the right way to deal with it, and then deflect back to the issues because they are the ones who are engaging in the deflection. Okay? It's not even a deflection to be like, why are we talking about this? Let's talk about the cost of living crisis, right? Like, this is the actual anti-Semitism. This is the actual anti-Semitism. The notion that, like, the notion that there is a monolithic and organized Jewry that is singularly invested in Israel is anti-Semitism. It's anti-Semitic when Nick Fuentes says it, and it's anti-Semitic when Jake Tapper says it. Okay?
This is the type of stuff the Democratic Party loves to do, which is like, so the Republicans are doing some sort of bad faith smear. It has 2,000 likes on Twitter. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about a 2,000 like tweet. Then Abdul makes a statement about a 2,000 like tweet. And now every single newsroom in the entire country can write a story about it. So congratulations, Abdul and Democrats. You have now fallen into this shit. You have fallen into this shit. Now they can make all these. Abdul El-Sayed refuses to renounce Hasan Piker. So now the volume is going to go up. Again, as I said, it's not a fatal mistake, but it will become a fatal mistake if it keeps up. Because what will happen is if he keeps making nothing statements, people and people keep reporting on it, then people are going to make more tweets about Hasan Piker, and he's going to have to make more nothing statements until eventually he will condemn Hasan Piker, in which case he'll look super weak, and then it'll be like, why'd you take so long? And then
yeah, they'll say, why did you take so long? Why did you even campaign with him? Because remember, if you give in to the false framing here, addressing the bad faith Hassan smear campaign on the merits is tacitly lending credence to the manipulated or fabricated statements. It's not only a political miscalculation in that the Dem establishment and GOP will never give progressives credit for capitulation. Give an inch and they'll take a mile behind you while you're looking for a pat on the back. But it's also a fairly basic logical error to assume that rationalizing with a dishonest actor in any context will appease or disarm them. You are under no obligation to concede on oppositional framing. These people are cynical monsters. They're not invested in arriving at the truth. They're trying to trap you into accepting their framework. So I understand his predicament, because every moment is yet another instance where they're like, why won't you condemn Hassan? Why won't you condemn Hassan? Do you just not want Jewish people to vote for you? And look, I wasn't involved in Angie Nixon's campaign. She condemns Israel's genocide. She still won. Okay? And then they try to piece her up and be like, oh, well, do you condemn Hasan Piker? And she was like, I don't know Hasan Piker. So now they move to the next thing. Now they're saying DSA, 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 DSA. It doesn't matter. There was always a thing. Okay? So we on the left broadly have to get better at dealing with this kind of contentious media environment, because it's never going to go away. Do you understand? If it's not DSA, then they'll say, oh, well, what about your tweets from 2020? What about this? What about that? There's always going to be something. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what to say other than I will continue saying the fucking truth. I will continue fighting for the values that I believe in. I hope that the truth will inevitably prevail. That's the only thing I can lean into. I've been doing this for a decade, and over the years, I've continuously kept fighting for these values that I believe in, standing loudly and proudly against all forms of bigotry, combating it to the best of my ability, combating misinformation, disinformation to the best of my ability. Look, my last quote on this before moving on is going to be a quote from Malcolm X. If you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing.